Hello there, this is Klaud. I'm here with my guest, Mark Perez from Broaxium. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic.
I'm glad to have you. Have you watched any of my videos?
No, well, geez, I'm so sorry. It's funny because it's like when you asked me to be on, I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize he had a show, right? Then I saw some stuff, but I hadn't had a chance to actually look at it. So I am a complete newbie here. So I'm going to take in the experience live.
I'm going to use terminology that Raven uses. Sometimes I haunt people's chats. Sometimes I get acknowledgement. The only time that I will list it as my appearance is when like I'm acknowledged. So have you ever seen me on like SSW Network or Bombcast?
So yes, no, I have. I'm not. I mean, it just we have a lot of friends, obviously, that make a lot of content that I definitely don't keep up like I used to with all the different shows. And I'll hop on and support my friends. Don't get me wrong, but when I used to have a longer commute, it used to be so much easier to be able to watch people or listen to their shows more, right? And now it's like I have to like cherry pick like a little of this, a little of that, because otherwise there's no way I'm gonna have the time I used to be able to catch up with everybody. It's like people are rolling out shows all the time.
I would have the same issue as you because I don't drive, so I take public transportation. And back then, it would take me like an hour and 30 minutes to get from either school or my home. So like, I definitely can empathize with your situation there. Mark.
Yep.
Oh, see, I thought you were frozen.
No, I'm here. I'm here. I was just listening. I promise to stay more animated.
Are you aware that everyone that I interact with on Star Wars YouTube gets a rap name?
No.
Are you aware that you have a rap name? I don't think you know.
What is it?
You're Marky Mark.
Marky Mark. Yes, it's the name has followed me around for years. It's like it's so funny. It's like so many of my friends just automatically call me that and be like, "Oh, that's okay, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." Well, like, I love it when people do that. For me, it's like it's a cool like term of endearment to do that because it's like I'll have nicknames for people too, right? And that usually means I like them. So
Like you know, both the hosts of Bombcast that they have names. You have G Easy and Scott LaRock.
Love it.
Your friends on Broaxium, you got Method Dan, you got Raekwon, you got Ludacris.
That's awesome.
You got Bro Rider.
Yeah.
And you have C Murder.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so funny.
I came up with that one.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do with Claire? Claire, C Murder. So if you're gonna be on my channel, and if you're, as you said, you're not particularly familiar with what I upload, let me just ask you, how did you get into Star Wars, and what's your relationship with the franchise now?
Well, I go all the way back to the beginning. Having seen A New Hope, just it was just called Star Wars then, right? In theaters, and then just having all that madness take over, right? Because it was to the point, it was just like pretty much from the get-go, it reached a fever pitch, right? We all wanted all the action figures, like, and we wanted more Star Wars, right? Then we saw the holiday special, and we're like, oh, okay. And then The Empire Strikes Back came out. It just that mania just took a whole nother level.
I assume it wasn't too bad for you, like when you saw the holiday special back then, because you're like really young.
It was, but I knew it wasn't as good as what we had seen in theaters. Like it was one of those things. Was like I never have to see that again, right? And I honestly pushed it out of memory for the longest time until I got into the actual community and people would bring it up. Just because it's so bad it's good is what it took on, right? The life of like, and people love all the bits and pieces of it because there's a lot of talent involved in that particular production, right? All the different actors. It may not have come out maybe the way that they wanted it to, but at the time people were so hungry for Star Wars that was what they could feed us, right? It's like, here you go. Here's a little bit before the next movie, Um, and it grew from there. I mean, obviously I loved the original trilogy. When the prequels came out, it was an insane time. And I should preface that with the special edition kind of built the hype up heading into the prequels. So that's one of my favorite eras when I saw the special editions in theaters and then the prequels came out and it was just insane. An insane time to be a Star Wars fan because the hype was just next level. There was so much like toys everywhere you turned. It was episode one, episode one, episode one, right? Um, you know, and just over the years, things have changed so much because when the last of the prequels came out and there was a long pause, and then we got the Clone Wars animated movie, which took me a while to come around to because I took a break from Star Wars after the prequels. I don't know that I really loved Revenge of the Sith at the time, but then upon reflection, right then and there, I was just like, I need a little break from all this. I didn't know that I liked everything I got, except Revenge of the Sith. I really, really did like. Um, but again, it picked up again after when the Clone Wars animated movie came out, and then the show came out, and then it's like I started my love of Star Wars again, and then by the time we got to The Force Awakens, it was all back again. That hype was there again, right? You know, and it's been difficult since then. Obviously, you've seen what's happened online, and I've had my times where it's can be a bit disappointing to be a fan sometimes because there's so much negativity, right? Um, and even when there's shows now or something that I don't like, it doesn't ruin my day. I don't have to go online and complain about it. I just think I was like, you know what, that's not for me. And I move on because there's other things. But yeah, I'm at a point now where not everything is about me and for me, and that's okay because there'll be something else that'll come out, whether that be a piece of music, a book, an animated series, or Andor, right? Andor seems to people seem to agree, I think, on that particular property the most, which is nice because that's when everybody can be online talking about it and loving Star Wars as much as they want to. But it seems like with a lot of other shows, it's like one half of the community is not happy, the other one is super happy, and it just, you know, so there's been a lot of ups and downs. I would have to say that I really was disappointed in what happened after the Acolyte because there was a lot of promising things in that show. Did I love everything? No, but there were parts of it that I really did love, and I really wanted to see that story go on, right? But you know, decision has been made. It's not going to keep going forward. And I was very disappointed about that. That again, it almost to a point where I needed to take a little break, and it wasn't as long as it was after the prequels, but I just needed to step back and kind of reassess. It's like, well, what do I want out of this? It's like things have changed a lot. It's like not everything is gonna be to my liking, but it's like, what do I do now? But luckily, no matter what happens, there's a really cool community here, and it's amongst our friends, the people we know, the people that we interact with, that we do podcasts with. That's the fun part that stays no matter what happens within Star Wars and what comes out in the theaters or on TV, right? You know, because when I get a chance to go to the conventions, that's when it really, really comes together for me. I get to interact with, the fans and our friends and hang out with them. And that for me is the part I love the most. I've been really lucky that I've met some really, really cool people in this community. And, and I continue to meet new people that, I love talking with. And we may never get to meet in person, but it's just cool to interact with them and share our love of this thing that I've been following since I was a child. So yeah, here I am all these years later, and I'm still talking Star Wars. So there's that.
Yeah, if it wasn't for this property, everyone that you communicate on podcasts, they would just be complete strangers. They wouldn't even know anything about what the personalities or what their interests are, and maybe you can evolve your own. You're just like, oh yeah, you actually make a good point there. So sometimes you may not always completely agree, but sometimes it's like, oh, I see that you have a point there.
Yeah,
and that's a way to healthily engage with art. I'm way too familiar with the toxic side of Star Wars. Like I was in the trenches arguing about the Last Jedi is great, just don't understand it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so easy to end up like on the other end of that, right? And you're like, oh no, right? Um, but again, yeah, I think that it's so easy for people to throw stones at each other online, because the healthy debate is kind of like it just people don't know how to really anymore. They just want to quick react. They want to have the bad reaction and just throw it out there, right? When really you could be talking about it. You don't have to agree. We don't have to agree on everything. There's no way that's going to be possible, right? But yeah, it's just it's been a little tough, but like I said, on the upside, I'm really happy with what I can take from all this, whether it be a show that I really love, or interacting with my friends or making a new show, or anything of that sort. And then concentrating on just like the good stuff ahead.
Obviously, you're a member of the Broaxium team.
Yeah.
You're also a frequent guest slash host of Shooting the Poop.
Yes. Yes.
There's some very interesting moments on that show. Like one thing that sticks out to me and is always in the back of my mind when I mention Broaxium is Dan and his prejudice against Trandoshans.
Yes. That was hilarious.
What was it? You were talking about Mandalorian and how he was going to interact with droids, and so he's giving up his prejudice. And he can learn something.
Yeah.
And because of him, on T Public, I have a what is it, like, stop Trandoshophobia?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, it's like, you know, yeah, all those little things. Those are the fun parts, right? Like just what people bring to the table on the show. Like it's like Claire, she loves salacious crumbs. So if we get a quacky monkey lizard show up anywhere, that's right. Automatically, we're going to be talking about that week with Claire, right? Just yeah, all the elements. That they're a really cool group of people to make content with. Just because of the ideas they bring to the table, their sense of humor. I love that they make me laugh. You know, and that we enjoy the things we talk about, and it doesn't have to just be Star Wars. It's like it's just in general what's happening that week. And it is just nice to go on there because it's really we're just chatting amongst friends, and that's just an outlet as well as, enjoying the good parts of the community.
Will wholeheartedly agree with that. Another fun moment is what was it? Dan was on stream holding his new baby, and we're talking about the fireworks, and you customize Cal to have a mullet. That I said he's Jedi Joe Dirt with.
Oh my God, should I Joe Dirt? Yeah.
Is there anything you want to mention or ask before we get into conspiracies that I talk about on the show?
Oh no, go for it, go for it, go for it.
Don't worry, this is about Star Wars, not tinfoil hat. Have you heard of my Zillow Ray theory?
No, what is it? What is it again?
Zillow Ray theory.
No.
Okay. So I already know if Chris watches this, he's gonna just like shake his head because Zillow Ray all the time. So you know the Zillow Beast, right?
Yes, of course. Yes.
You know Ray. First ain't nobody, Ray.
Yeah.
This theory poses that she has Zillow Beast DNA in her bloodstream.
Oh.
Now, the reason behind this is you've seen Bad Batch, right?
Yeah.
Bad Batch introduces Mount Kansas, which in Legends, brought back the Emperor, following the same steps in the canon are revealed to this anime series. And they also bring in the Zillow Beast. We see in the Clone Wars. He's very interested in the Zillow Beast. In the reanimated Emperor, which is the outcome of this system. I don't believe they destroyed everything. I'm going to say like at least one scientist had a vial of Palpatine blood. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't believe they lost everything.
Yeah.
Because the people like accidentally like take home like a notebook from work. You know what I'm saying? But in Rise of Skywalker, we see that Emperor is able to become younger and stronger by absorbing electricity.
Yeah.
Because the beast does. So if he was genetically spliced by the scientists to be part Zilla to make him more powerful, like the Zillies.
Yes.
Who's animated, well, okay, not technically granddaughter because her dad is a clone of the Emperor.
Yeah.
Long story, but basically blood related, whatever.
Yeah. I get it though.
Part Zilla beast.
Okay.
And I'm finding things in the movies that back up my batshit claim.
Yeah.
If you remember in Last Jedi, she gets a bad burn on her shoulder.
Yeah.
The next movie is gone.
Yeah.
Now, the reason is like the real world is because they put the band in the wrong spot to cover it up. The prop team made a mistake. But isn't that healing very lizard-like?
Yeah.
She's able to calm the Vexus snake.
Yes.
Recognized lizard. And what you see is an evil version of herself in a vision.
Snake-like teeth.
Exactly. You're catching on.
Yes. Okay. No. I look. I see what you're saying. No, that because look. There was a Zilla Beast right at the end of Bad Batch, right? And there was the reason behind that. It's not to say that Rey is a Zilla Beast herself, but that we could be using something within the what makes up the Zilla Beast to make force sensitive people that are next level, right? So yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. It would make it interesting, right? I don't know how they would do that in the movies or anything, but it would be cool to talk to somebody in the story group and have them say, well, that's originally we were going to do, but it didn't work out, right? It'd be cool to like at least find out that that's where the story was kind of headed, right?
The reason I came into this is because like I had to make myself like her being a Palpatine, which I really.
It was tough for me too. Don't get me wrong. It was one of the things I don't care for, but yeah.
Watch the movie, I walked out like, no.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I just felt defeated.
Yeah. That movie, like, there's parts of it that are super cool, right? Like, I was like, oh, that was great, right? And then other parts of it, I'm like, this is frustrating. And not just because like it's an outright bad movie. I just think that as the closing chapter of a 40-year saga, there wasn't enough there to wrap things up and it didn't finish strong enough. That's I think my biggest problem with the movie, Not to say that I like hate it or anything, but it's just there's just a lot of elements to it that I didn't really care for. And that's okay. You know what I mean? It was also sad because we had lost Carrie Fisher by that point, right? It would have been great to see what they would have done with Leia at the end there, because I think there was so much more to be done, right? But it is what it is. They worked with what they have. We were lucky enough to get Leia's character get some closure, there. And because of her death, I did love that they ended up putting up that scene with Kylo and Han, because that scene just always just gets to me. I think that's one of the best scenes in all of Star Wars. Just that moment they spend together, right?
I agree. I just wish it breathed a little more.
Yeah.
I feel like because I've been diagnosed, but I can say this. The movie has an issue. It just
it was very breakneck speed.
Because you're trying to get to so much.
Yeah.
It's too stuffed to do 2 hours and like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
3 hours, you would breathe much better.
Yeah.
Just watching all the lead up is like, oh, we got this spy and we got this message and we're doing latency skipping. That is just sensory overload. obviously, yeah, I mentioned my disagreements with some of the story points. I mean, I've written a 132 page rewrite of the movie where there's no Palpatine reanimated. So obviously, but uh, back to the whole Coke thing. It's like I wanted to reason to like it more. So I was like, oh, that's actually a conspiracy, this intrigue. Oh, okay, this is kind of cool. And by this point, I was already starting to read Adam Christopher's with the Shadow of the Sith, and that kind of eases me into it because he's really good at writing.
Yeah.
When I rewatch Last Jedi, my brain can't process like, oh, Luke knows who Rey is when he asks, "Who are you?" And like, there's so much. I'm just like, no, my brain can't process it like that. My brain won't process the retcon while watching the movie. After I watch it, I'm like, well, yeah, it did happen.
It was an interesting way to end that whole saga, and we'll see what happens next. Like, if we ever get to the Ray movie, because I just feel like there's been so many roadblocks and stops and goes that I think the only movie we know for sure that's up next is Mandalorian and Grogu, right? And so there's that because we need to finish that story up, right? But yeah, I'm ready to be back in the movie theater watching new stuff with everybody together, right? Because I miss that. That's like one of the big things about being a Star Wars fan. It was like that shared experience. Seeing the TV shows, cool. I'm happy we have something because, I come from a time where, like, between the original trilogy and the time the special editions came out, is what they call the dark times, right? And we didn't have anything except for like books and whatnot. Timothy Zahn novels, great. The fuel we needed at that point because it just really got us ready for what was ahead. But outside of that, it's like that was such a long break. It's no longer like that now, right? Now we have a Star Wars show on TV now to kind of, keep us fed, right? In the meantime. But it's still, to me, it's not going to feel the same until we get a big movie in theaters and we get that feeling again, and going to see something like that, for 2.5 hours, whatever it might be. I miss that. That's I think that has also a lot to do with where I'm at right now. It's just like it has evolved and it will continue to evolve and everything, but take us back to the movies, man. Take us back to what we love, that love of cinema, and seeing these great special effects and these stories on a big screen with everybody.
Yeah, your interpretation of trust when it comes to whether or not a movie come out. I think that, it's been said before, but Lucasfilm has like a serious issue with like as it sounds like they just have a show for it. Like I remember what's the game in the show?
I know.
I still want it.
Me too.
Was it Don Glover is like roughly the same age that Billy D was like back in Empire. And like I still want I still want to see Rachel's neighborhood like it sounds interesting. I still want a Patty Jenkins movie. I still want a Taika Waititi movie. I still want a Ryan Johnson trilogy. What the hell happened, bro?
I think there was just a lot of good ideas, that were brought to the table, but in reality, the response wasn't exactly great across the board. Number one, I'm sure that had some effect on it all, and then the fact that we had a pandemic that just really just kind of cut everybody's legs up for a long moment there, right? We regrouped, rescheduled it. Like, there was no way we were ever going to get things to be the same again after that. It just really, really cut the momentum, you know. Um, and so, like with everybody else, you had to regroup and focus on TV because that's what you could get out, right? And even then, that was dangerous to the people involved because back then we didn't know whether they would get sick or not or what would happen, right? But we were lucky enough to be able to continue to still watch stuff at home. But again, like I'm saying, it's been cool to be able to just like come home from work and watch a Star Wars show and be like, oh, that was cool, like, or whatever, but it's still there. So
You're lucky. You can watch it pretty early. I gotta wait until
I know. And here's the thing, it's like, right, it's like when they used to release it, like, at midnight out here, it was still tough, because it's like, do I watch it or do I go to bed and try to get up early in the morning before work, right? You got to make time for it because you want to watch it before people start discussing online and spoiling it because people ain't got any chill.
Like sometimes I'll get like spoiled by like something minor, like Instagram just someone will post something.
Yeah.
Twitter, like I really don't like interact much of anything up there.
Yeah.
So like I'm usually pretty safe about that.
Good.
I think one of the times I was only spoiled about something was I was spoiled about Hayden Christensen coming to Ahsoka. I was spoiled by Instagram.
Yes. Which, like, I have to tell you, it's like that's a series that I had some issues with that, but overall, it gave us that episode. Let me tell you, man, that was like some of the best Star Wars ever, right there. That's like that episode was so good. I loved it so much. Like I couldn't believe that like we got that moment, those moments with Snips and Sky Guy. After all these years, because again, if you were a Clone Wars fan, it's like that felt like this big reward. You stuck with it this long. Now you get to see them together on screen in this way, right? That was a fantastic episode, man. That was some good Star Wars.
Like I wasn't as excited watching as a viewer.
Yeah,
Those moments like it didn't like blow me away. I was
yeah,
more happy that it happened.
yeah,
Like if someone like saw that and they cried, I'm very happy for them. And sometimes it's a like more mature way to approach the thing when it doesn't like truly like hit the nail for you.
yeah.
You know, for every movie that a fan says they hate and they wish was destroyed, another fan saying that movie like made me get over like personal trauma. Man. Like that movie helped me not commit suicide. And that's like the brunt of the gamut of like the emotional response, and it means so much to me.
Yeah. No, and I get it. Like there's shows or whatever it might be a book, somebody connects with it. And for them, it could be their jumping in point. It could be, you know, a book that changes their whole outlook on it. And they realize now I love Star Wars, right? Because it's like I didn't realize I could see myself in this character, right? And that's how they go forward and take in everything else, you know. So yeah, you're right. It is interesting how some people can just outright hate something, and then the other half are the people that are inspired by it, or the people that it adds to their life.
Yeah, like I relate to Ray way more now than I used to.
Yeah.
Like I rewatched her trying to like get help from someone that she looked up to as the hermit and disappoints her and like he's depressive and something like that. Like I don't want to get too personal, but something like that happened to me directly.
Hmm.
When I rewatch it, like, I feel like I'm in her shoes. But when I first saw it, I'm like, I didn't feel it as much. Now
Yeah.
it's me. Um, so more conspiracies. So I have a conspiracy about Luke and Leia.
Okay.
Now, my philosophy is that if the deleted scene doesn't contradict anything in the universe or the movie itself, it happened. Fair enough.
Hmm.
So when I see a deleted scene from Empire Strikes Back, where before Han says it looks like you can pull the ears of Gundam,
Yes, the infamous scene.
Luke and Leia get real close and they get cock blocked by droids, and Leia looks disappointed. My conspiracy is that Leia also wanted to be with her brother. It wasn't just on his simpy side.
Hmm.
Now, if we're going legends, oh,
Yeah.
way more horny. They were
Yeah.
just like every other comic back in the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Huh.
And, and according to the retcon by Return of the Jedi, somehow she's always known it, though. She didn't seem too broken up by the possibilities of, oh, wait, this might be my brother. She didn't
Yeah.
care. She was disappointed by that, apparently.
It's but it's funny because it's like you think about it. you wanted that tension between the different characters, right? And because even though there were some concepts that Uncle George already had spelled out and everything, there were certain things that weren't. And of course, you have these moments, right? You know, and over time, they kind of had to just be, swept under the rug because this is the way it was going to go. She was going to end up being with Han, and they were going to end up being brother and sister. And it's just funny because a lot of people now, like, you'll see them complain about, like, oh, that's not consistent, that's not the way it's supposed to be, blah blah blah. And if you look at the original trilogy, there's so many instances of what was and what ended up being, and we just accepted it because we were having a great time you know
This concept of being grandfathered in,
yeah
you let your criticism of whatever you grew up with slide. When
yeah
you does it, it's the worst thing ever.
yeah. And so it just, I mean, it's just things like that. Like, it's funny, like, and you look back, like, think about what has happened over, I would say, even just the last 5 years or so, maybe 5, 10 years. Uh, Slip ups in, like, editing, or like when they're filming. I think there was a Starbucks mug in Game of Thrones that caught a lot of flack, right? Jeans guy, and was it The Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett? I can't remember what show it was on, right? Yeah. And so people were just like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that." And it goes, "God," it goes, they're not putting enough attention to it. And it's like, man, this is like the meat in the sandwich that is filmmaking and TV making. This is the stuff that there'd be whole books about, right? And it wasn't a disappointment, like, oh my god, I can't believe that. Like, this is the stuff that people would look for because they love cinema, they love the medium of TV, and, like, they collect these moments because, like, oh yeah, there was this great, like, gaff in this episode, blah blah blah. Like, there are people out there that's their bread and butter, right? And somewhere along the way, it just got to where people got too precious about those things, and now it's just like, they find that offensive, like, people don't care enough when they're making the TV shows, when in reality, these types of things happen all the time, right? And so I really think that people need to get back to appreciating those things, because you have to end up loving these things. They're just like people, in a sense, in that nobody's perfect. No movie, no TV is perfect. Well, there's some maybe, but even then, it's like, in your most perfect movie and your most classic movie and everything, you can go online in a trivia section and find out the little mistakes and little things that people worked with and just kept filming, and it ended up becoming a great part of the film.
Right.
And I want people to remember that as we keep going forward, because it's just going to make their life so much easier when they're watching these things.
So, this you telling me that we're going to keep the camera flipping in Return of the Jedi, where suddenly Lando has a sash on his opposite side?
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. But that's too much. That's too much.
Yeah.
We can't have preserve for any, like, physical media.
Yeah, it just
Embrace the cringe, embrace
the chaos, right? Yeah, it's like, this is, yeah. Yeah. And then, I mean, and look at it this way too. It's like, even George Lucas himself wanted to go back and fix things that otherwise we would have never had the special editions, right? He goes, I have the technology now to go back and fix these things that didn't quite work out for me, right? Okay, dude, it's your movies. Let's do this, right? And I go and watch it. Some things I loved. Other things I was like, that was okay. Didn't ruin it for me. I loved it. I was like, dude, you're still making movie magic, right? The X-Wings look more fantastic. Java, not so much. Whatever. You added this piece in that, like, for me, now forever is a part of Star Wars, and I love it even more than the original, right? There's always going to be changes to all of these things. Maybe not so much anymore, now that George is not in charge anymore, because I don't know that we would get a special edition type deal now, right? But that was so cool for that era, and the fact that we got to see that, because again, that helped build the momentum heading into episode 1. And those are some of my favorite times as a Star Wars fan. I'll never forget that. I felt like a kid again, going to see the original trilogy on screen again. People were at a fever pitch. I remember when they opened the doors for the special edition of Empire Strikes Back, people almost got mowed down running into the theater. It's insane. I'm like, okay, dude, look, I want to see it too, but I'm not about to die to get into this theater. Okay.
Next theory. This one I don't believe. You know Mutt Williams?
Where do I know that name from? Mutt. What's his name? Indy's son, right? Yeah.
Chapel's character. You know Snow?
Yes.
Same person.
Oh my god.
King of the Crystal Skull. You see aliens show up. They go to a wedding back in America. But they see aliens and they're not going to go back and they're going to go check on anything? Are you serious? Which one of the characters seems like you would go back and check? Mutt does.
Yeah.
He has a taste of his father's life. He's going around the gills. So as he went back, he got a chunk of alien painting put in the back of his bike. He either got abducted in Peru, America, or Serbia, Vietnam by the same aliens.
Yeah.
And they start experimenting on him. So they look more like them, become more green and lanky. They put a cybernetic implant scarring his head to tap into his hatred of not having the father figure he wanted.
Yeah.
So he becomes a template for more quick snopes, and he attempts Kyle to the dark side. He's living vicariously through Ben because he's like, your dad just looks like my dad, and I want him to be dead.
Yeah, that was definitely more far-fetched, but the idea of it is fun, right? And the idea is just so insane that it's fun, and that's fine. Correct me if I'm wrong, just because it's like it's you know what, I only ever saw the new indie movie once, but Mutt did die like right in military service or something, right?
Yeah, like they said that he died of
Yeah. And I liked the new indie movie. I thought it was fun. You know, it was fun, dude. I was like, I mean, I honestly, the last two are different. They're of a new era. I still enjoyed myself. It's just nice to see Harrison Ford on screen. You know,
it's my third favorite of the indie movies.
Yeah, and I love that. And look, you put Marion in there, dude. I'm gonna love it even more. So
I desperately wanted Short Round to show up at the very end.
that I think was the one thing that was missing because
just have an ice cream cone and then
yeah, and here's the thing, right? If you're not going to have Mutt back, bringing Short Round in would have been kind of like Newt in Aliens, where like Ripley gets to have that parenting side show up, right? Because no matter what age they're gonna be, Indy is always gonna be a father-like figure for Short Round, right? They went through a lot together, right? And so it would have been cool to see that dynamic. It's like I lost my son, but I still got you, Short Round. You know, even more emotional.
Short Round's so cool, so much of a better son that he gets to wear his hat and not his blood.
Yeah. And I mean, and then the fact here's the other thing too, it would have made sense considering how Kay was like back in the limelight, right? The timing would have been perfect. Like, dude, it's like people would have been ugly crying in the theater seeing him come back.
To me, there's still opportunity to give Short Round his own Disney Plus series.
Yeah.
Years have passed, set in the 70s, make him like a spy or something.
Yeah, like have him be part indie, part Bond, right? You know, like it would be kind of fun, dude. I think that would be great, you know. And then it makes it his own thing. But then to have like Harrison pop up every once in a while or something, right? You know, whatever it may be. You know, they pay him enough, he'll come back. Because look, he's still doing TV shows. He's doing Shrinking for Apple TV, and that's a great show.
So yeah, obviously, don't believe this theory. Just too entertaining. This originated from me being on SSW Network, and I was defending Last Jedi, and I said, "Well, we don't need to see Snoke's backstory. You don't need to see him when he was a greaser." You know, it's just a joke. I said.
Yeah.
I started rewatching the movies leading up to the new one, and I'm like, "Wait, Snoke, greaser, Mutt, grease."
It's fun though, man. It's fun. Like, what was it that there was another one? Oh, this was one. I don't know if you've ever heard this before. Let me throw my own one in here because I thought this one was interesting. And Please forgive me because it's not going to be verbatim, but I remember that there was some conspiracy theory about like how Alora Dannon from Willow was Rey. And I can't remember how all those things connected, right? But the fact that like and I remember in the particular instance they broke down the different parallels, and I thought, oh, like that's cool, right? you know,
I'm sure Chris has talked about his theory of Clone Force 99 being Star Squadron.
oh, yeah, I remember we were talking about that at one point. It's been a while though. I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. What if the mods from Book of Boba Fett join Snoke and they become the Knights of Snoke? They become greaser themed Sith characters.
You know what? I mean, I think that I would have liked them more less polished street kids than more like greaser, like you said, and just like kind of a little bit more of a darker edge to them. I think it would have been fun, right? Like maybe a precursor to the Knights of Ren, whatever, right? You know?
You want to be more like street urchins?
Yeah, or just just to be more punk. Let's say that. Yeah, it would have been fun. It would have been fun. But yeah, I didn't that whole the Rider Gang wasn't exactly my favorite part of it, but I love that like they gave the opportunity for Thundercat to be in that scene. That was cool. I was like, oh dude, what the heck? It's like you're in this, the episode. So yeah.
More random musician cameos and stuff.
I love it. Yeah.
Mandalorian Grogu. I'm here for it. We can see all those early web teams. A newer conspiracy that I've talked about on the SSW network is I think Shotty is cloned. That's why she has so many deaths.
Oh my god.
And the only real Shotty in Legends is the one that shows up in Force Unleashed.
Yes.
Because all the other ones act very reserved and dress modestly. This one doesn't.
Correct me if I'm wrong, depending on the property, and I think it's part deleted scenes too. Like she was killed, like right? That's right. She's the character that's like they're like, well, are we gonna kill her or not? Well, let's make another scene. That's right.
I was like, well, obviously she had a romantic relationship with Cypher Diaz. And he wanted to reanimate the love of his life. Like, Django got a son.
Yeah.
Cypher Diaz got, the woman he loves.
Yeah. And it's funny if you imagine that in a sense, it's like, he was doing what Anakin wanted to do to save the love of his life. Can you imagine if Anakin would have thought differently about the whole thing and thought, well, if she dies, I'm going to clone her and have her come back, right? That's a what if story I would love to see, right? Because it would be great. And then have it end tragically anyway, right? It's like, oh.
We need a what if show for Star Wars and call it Infinity, like the comic.
Yes, the comic was so good. I remember that.
And I'm like, you're not bound by continuity. You can bring back anybody, basically.
Yeah.
Voice recording. You don't need to be like, why is this actor like suddenly older? Like, doesn't matter. You just draw them differently or animate them differently.
Yeah. Let's look at the way that like the animation has worked for other properties and what they've done with the what ifs. Like it's been fun, and you can change these things because even if say like these characters would never end up together in your real quote unquote real universe, the fact that you have these different multiverses and one version over here can interact with this version over here and it changes the way you look at things, right? Like, oh my god, those two finally got to meet, right? It would never happen in the normal timeline. So
something that I want to see is like alternate universe where Kidster, South Asian friend of Anakin.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, why not, right? It's like, the fact that he never came back. Well, what happened to Kitster? It's like, it's like, or what if like he and Wald like became bounty hunters together and like had a team and made it across the galaxy, were like doing their own thing, right?
And Greedo still dies.
Yes. But that yeah, those are the things that are a lot of fun, right? You think about, there's so much lore now to pick from, so much that is out there. And the possibilities with a what if show or whatever you do with it is fun. Like the other thing I would love to see made in that same sense, where like you get to play with how things are looked, or look at something very well from a different perspective, is to bring Tag and Bink in, right? If you did Tag and Bink, I think it would be so much fun, right? And so that, I think, is one of those things that I hope they eventually come around to, because I think it would make a lot of people happy.
Like something that they could do in Infinities, because like, let's be honest, we don't want them touching real canon. They could do an episode where it has Yuzhong Vong.
Yes, yes, yeah.
They can adapt books that were never released.
Yeah.
Shot-T, she has a book that was never released because they didn't think it was going to sell enough.
But you can make a short story about it, right? Or you can make a little like 2-part story, and that's that. It's done, right?
They can explain.
Yeah, because look at everything that we've done until now. There's been elements of that in a lot of the properties we've taken, and they cherry picked from Legends, right? This never got quite developed, but let's bring this element from Legends into canon and make it, work for this story we're working on currently. I love that. To me, that's so much fun because I know a lot of people were freaked out about Legends, being not made canon, but they had no idea that there would still be picking from those, because look, not everything in those stories was fantastic, but there were some really cool things. And I'm really glad that they went back and took from those stories and made it, to where it's part of the bigger picture.
Star Wars fans, look at me. Decanonization of Legends needed to happen. It's a good thing it happened. Shut the fuck up. Opportunities like, oh, you just want them to recreate what happened in these books for episode 7, 8, 9. Are you out of your goddamn mind? If they get one thing wrong, you're going to set something ablaze.
And that's just it, right? It's like everybody turns into what's her name from Misery. It's like yeah. And that's just it. That's like I said, I think the whole thing is, it's like, I love this too and everything, but I think people just have become too precious about things, that they get so upset about any changes. And it's like, this is the way it's always been. This is where it's going to continue. And, to just quick react and just get upset about these things, it's just, I don't know. Not only is it not healthy, but it's like, you're never going to be happy, because this is always going to continue to happen no matter what, Um, and there may be things up ahead that undo things we know really well now, because they're like, what, when we did the story at the time, now that we think on it, and he goes, this didn't quite work out. Let's change it a little bit, right? And there'll be people upset on both sides, I'm sure. But the fact of the matter is, if we're going to go and keep going forward, these stories are going to continue to evolve. They're going to change. We don't have to agree with everything, but it becomes a whole different thing altogether.
Yeah, and this extreme anger really just shows that the people that are reacting like this don't understand Star Wars. Like, the movies are telling you to not act like that. They're telling you to be like a Jedi. A Jedi is just not a dude that swings around a nice laser sword. It's a philosophy.
Yes.
And you miss all of it.
Yeah.
Because you're arguing whether or not, like, Mace Windu's lightsaber is purple because he's half evil. Who cares? That's not what the story is about in actual media consuming.
Yeah.
Anyway, what is your favorite, least favorite, underrated for the various Star Wars mediums, like film, TV, video games, comics, and novels?
What I think is the underrated stuff?
Let's try to get like 3 answers for each. Like favorite, least favorite, underrated.
Favorite overall. It's funny because boy, I still go back to the original trilogy. While I absolutely love The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi is the one I still hold near and dear. That one is just to me, I just love so many elements of it. So that one's still up there on a pedestal for me.
But it's moments, and I'm happy to see it.
A little odd. I love it. And then least favorite? It's still Rise of Skywalker, unfortunately. We'll leave it at that. Outside of that, and what was the third one?
Underrated.
Oh, I think after a long while, I want to say that because of the way it was released and how it was, like the way people took it in at the time, I think Solo deserved a lot more. You it's a lot of fun. It's got some great moments in it. I love the cast, and it just unfortunately came at a bad time where people weren't very open to it. And it just kind of got swept under the rug in a lot of ways. And I know we have a lot of fans for it within the community, right? I just don't think it got the release and the word of mouth that it really deserved.
It also wasn't doing itself any favors because it was releasing the same month as two big Marvel movies.
Yeah, yeah. And that's right. It's like it just was bad timing. It's at that time I remember they were trying to kind of roll out so many movies and stuff, and I get it. There was a schedule to keep that momentum going, but I think that also worked against it, right? You know, um, because like just like how people I think took more to Rogue One, I think Solo should have done that, as well. I mean, it's like there's so many things in there that you can love, whether it be Lando, Akira, seeing the Falcon, in its younger form, right? I mean, come on, it's like those elements are all right there, right?
Controversial opinion. I
Yes.
think Donald Glover's performance as Lando is more impressive than Billy D's.
Ooh. I think I heard Chris Ryan screaming all the way from the East Coast.
I love Billy D, but I think Donald Glover, like, he's standing on the shoulder of giants. So
It's an interesting thing because look,
is acting.
yeah, and here's the thing. Donald Glover knows absolutely whose footsteps he's following in Red. I mean, it's like it's Billy D, right? And but I love what he did with the character because it's like even though he is a younger version of him, it's for me its own thing, right? And I love it. I love seeing him as Lando. It's like to me, it's like one of the most exciting things from that movie. And it's one of the things that had me excited for the series that who knows, what's going to ever happen with that, if at all.
Some of y'all fans forget before Don Glover was, the soulful, Renaissance man, sexy guy. He was the fucking black dork in heaven. Simpsons fan fiction, like that's where he was. So he had a big glow up.
He did, man. He did. He absolutely did. Because like I look back at some of the older footage of him, I was like, that's so funny. It was like it's such a big change, right? It's like he went from looking like a dork to like this super handsome dude, right? Not that he wasn't good looking. It's just that, yeah, that glow up. They really knew. Okay, it's time to grow up. It's like yeah. It's just it's a marked change. It was really interesting seeing what happened with him, and he's a good actor. He's a great musician, and I love his presence. He has his own presence, and it's not copying Billy D, and that's what's important,
Yeah.
And I love that.
Like it took me a while to like really warm up to his performance.
Yeah.
Because at first I thought like it sounded too much like an impression, but then I started watching it more. I'm like, no, he's doing it a little different. And I really appreciate what he's doing here. Anyway, you got this for categories for TV, as Hank would say, video games, comics, novels.
We'll see. Video games. My favorite would be any of what we've gotten with Cal Kestis so far, because those have been some fantastic games. I loved The Force Unleashed as well too. Those were so much fun, right? Star Killer and all that. I tried to get into Outlaws. I didn't. It just wasn't for me. And I know people love that game. I don't know what it was about it. I just couldn't connect with it. Um, as far as animated shows, Rebels
No, no,
is my absolute favorite.
shows in general.
What was that?
This is just shows in general.
Shows in general. Okay, I'll concentrate on animated stuff though, because like the other shows, it's like they get their due, but I think like animation always gets short changed. But Rebels, I think, is my favorite of all of the animated shows that have come out so far. Um, s- I would say the runner up to that would be the Gen D Clone Wars, the micro series, because those were so great, dude. Those are another thing that made me fall in love with Star Wars all over again, just to see the animation, right? Because you've got this fantastic artist who I've already loved their stuff because of Samurai Jack, right? And to have them interpret Star Wars was so cool. I loved it. I loved it. Um, yeah, and the animated series, if I had a least favorite, I'm trying to think. What series didn't I think was all that great? Because there been some more. There's been more hits than misses with the animated stuff for sure. So I almost,
Market is a resistance.
I would say yes, not because it was a bad show. I just don't know that I ever quite got what it was trying to put out there. Like there's some cool moments and I loved the characters and there's stuff that ties it into all the other stuff now because there's great moments in there, right? Um yeah, that and I would say least favorite not because I dislike the show. That's the one I tend to pay less attention to. How's that sound?
More tension, less reliance on slapstick.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a very awkward relationship when it comes to the character because Zune Ziona. But like to me, the show would immediately be better if was it Toro Doza was the main character. Like it like that, it would like go up like a letter grade for me.
Yeah, yeah.
So, did you partake in comics and novels?
I did. So my favorite novel is the Plagueis novel. I loved that novel a lot. Um, that was good. Of course, the Timothy Zahn trilogy, man. That was fantastic back when that came out. I was so happy. Um, I'm trying to think. What was the least favorite? I
Luke,
was that.
are you a Luke defender?
Oh my god, that's right. Oh my god, forgot all about that. Yeah, it's like there's some things that are hit or misses. What are you gonna do, right? It's like
Maybe in Infinity Stories,
yeah,
Luke
yeah,
together
yeah.
with
Going back to what we were talking about with Legends, I think, like I said, they got stretched a little bit too thin. Having a moon fall on Chewie was a bit much.
you just made me remember something.
Yeah.
Another conspiracy that I talked about is that Geo, the High Republic, will grow into a moon and crush Chewbacca after episode 9. His family, friends.
Oh my god, that's fantastic.
Was it Christina Ariel about it?
Yes, yes, yeah.
And she just looked at me in my comment like the most disappointed mother of a
Yeah.
child.
Oh, but that's great though. I love it, man. I love it. Oh,
It's Chris pushing comics on you.
I mean, he does. I'm not reading any of the newer stuff right now. I'm taking a little break from Star Wars comics, but leading up to this point, there was some really good stuff, whether it be, the Vader comic, the Afra series, all that stuff. It's just they I think there's been a lot of good Star Wars comics over the years. Actually, Dark Horse kept it going for like a long time, right? But I think when Marvel took it over and after The Force Awakens, they were able to find their own voice, and there was some really, really good material that came out, right? I think as far as the comic books go, they found a way to keep that going strong, right? The fact that they were able to introduce this new character, Afra, and people loved her, right? That's not easy to do, you know? I want to see her in live action, by the way. I think that would be a great transition for that character because I think that would be a fun character to see.
I already got like a fan casting for her. I'm like, get Karen Fukuhara.
Right. I mean, it's like that is a character I think that's just so animated, it's so fun that like people would automatically like that character. So even if you don't know who that is, just watch it and yeah, give it a chance.
Uh, there was a lot of people that had no idea who was it Cobb Banff was or Black Chrysanthemum, but a lot of
Yeah.
people think they're pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. It's like once you see it on screen, right? Because I remember it's so funny. I had no idea that moment was going to happen, and then the moment that Black Chrysanthemum came on screen, I gasped out loud. I was like, "Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!" I was like, "That's
Like,
so cool."
what's the matter?
That was fantastic, and Compass too. Like, again, of course, people who take the deep dive, they're going to know who it is right away. But the trick is to it doesn't matter if this character has any big fans. How are they being introduced? How are they being, utilized in the story? That's what's going to bring a whole new set of fans into this character, right? If you think about that, the Guardians of the Galaxy as a whole is an example of what you can do with a lesser known comic book team. And because of the way it's presented and the way that, everything that the way it was put together sold it, you know?
Exactly. It's I haven't met anyone that just hates Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just shows a true testament like what James Gunn is able to do when he gets his hands on quirky comic book characters. Speaking of which, something that I told my dad after we watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in the theaters, I said, because there's like a tease, like, oh, we have a new team, right? I'm like, it's a big question of like, well, who would continue this? Because obviously James Gunn at that point
Yeah. He's
jumping
on the
ship
DC.
to
Yeah.
Warner Brothers DC. I'm like, Ryan Johnson could do a great Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I think he would actually. That would be a cool thing to take on because I think he has that same quirkiness about him.
Same
Yeah,
quirkiness, same love for animals.
yeah, yeah. No, I think that would be cool because here's the thing. It's like Ryan. I love that after the Last Jedi, and obviously all we saw that happened after that. He continued to come out like he did Knives Out, and that became like what people knew him for, right? He's been busy with that, and those have been great. I've enjoyed him. Um,
I like the first one more, but I thought the last one he was pretty decent.
yeah, yeah. Like it's fun to see those movies and how they unfold and everything. I mean, that's like, the whole like Poirot kind of like Agatha Christie light of it all. They're fun movies with that same type of feel, but for modern audiences. They don't feel as stuffy. Not that there's anything wrong with that older material, but a lot of people look at that other stuff like, oh, I don't know that I can get into that. Well, here it is in a new form. It's like with all these new actors so that you don't feel like you're watching an old movie with a bunch of older actors that you don't know, right? So, yeah.
There's a lot of big names in those two movies he did.
Yeah.
But again, he has contacts out of Wazoo.
Yeah, no, he does. I mean, that's just it, right? It's like you think about it's almost like the way that like the show White Lotus is. Who's going to show up this season, right? What are they going to get involved in, right? That's how I see these things. You get these really cool, diverse casts that of people, and it's like they're all going to be involved somehow, and then one of them is going to be end up being the killer or whatever it is that they're doing in the film that everything revolves around, right? So, yeah, a lot of fun.
So, Mark, before we slowly start wrapping up, is there any questions, comments you would like to give to me or the people that might watch this?
No, I mean, like I said, other than like, we're about to wrap up with I think we have one more episode of Skeleton Crew, and that's it, right? And then Andor is in about a month or two, right? When is it coming out? Like a couple months, something like that.
I think it's like we'll be well into spring. I think by that point.
Okay. So, I mean, other than that, I would just say, we all love Star Wars, and just keep doing that. Just keep focusing on the positive, because you know there's enough in the world that makes us miserable. We just shouldn't be getting miserable off a TV show or a movie or anything. I just really feel that we kind of all need each other more now than we ever have, and so fighting over a TV show or a movie is kind of silly in the grand scheme of things. Things can be important to us. Don't get me wrong. You defend things when you need to because there are important things, but just it shouldn't be making you miserable. 'Cause
Yeah,
otherwise, you need to find something else. You need to find your happy.
Star Wars fans, why don't you like get real angry about things that actually matter? Like,
And I know for some people it's easier said than done, right? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying it's just like look at the bigger picture. I mean, you got to change the way you look at things. What was it? Was Qui-Gon's line, right? Um. Oh, why am I forgetting the line? Um. Basically, like your impression of reality, the way you look at things, like you change that perception, right? You change your outlook, right? It's not easy.
determines your reality.
Thank you. Thank you. I had the words mixed up in my head, but that's it, right? It really does. And it's easier said than done. But it's like there's so many lessons within Star Wars, even from the bad characters sometimes too. And I don't think people listen. They don't listen and they don't take in the material that they're watching.
I'm like Star Wars fans, like, why don't you get upset about like sexual minorities like losing their rights? Why don't you get upset about like people being mass deported, like regardless of like international law? Why don't you get upset about your government funding a genocide? Like,
Yeah.
there's real shit to be talking about and worrying about, but you're just like, oh no, uh, Luke is sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes me angry.
Be passionate. Just don't go overboard, man, because you can be passionate about these things. That's why we're here, right? That's why we're talking about Star Wars after all these years. But it's just, yeah.
I just realized how spicy I am today. So, if you're not familiar with my channel, I like to close out with the Gluck Shadow of the episode.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So, you know what Gluck Shadow is, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Are you familiar with the Gluck Shadow character of Aurelia Ventifoli?
No. Where are they from?
I explain, like, basically there's synopsis information and show a picture, and usually that draws the guest memory. Aurelia Ventifoli, or I like to pronounce it Aurelia Ventifoli, was a female human best-selling recording artist who performed on the first flight in 10 BBY, a singer who was billed as the chanteuse of stars in the high demand and frequently toured, which made it rare for her to settle in one place very long. However, Dryden Voss was able to book her for the extended residency on his yacht, offering her a large sum of money. While performing on Voss's ship, she was paired with the classic supper club singer Leo Primark. In the months following the Clone Wars and advertising Ventifoli and Primark, she was seen on the rotating video billboard at the Sappho Toma Speedway at Sappho Toma. Ventifoli used to be a multi-vocoder to boost her voice on a non-human frequency and performed on the corded in a corded Aropile dress. I don't know how to pronounce that. That's not a real word. She she was physically portrayed by Sydney Taming Smart, and who previously played Bulia Gil in Last Jedi. She was was done by Baraka May and performed "Chicken in the Pot," the song about hunger of various foods spoken in Huttese.
Nice.
Did this name and this information bring up thoughts in your head?
Well, no, just in general, because it's funny. Right when you started describing the character, I knew exactly where we were headed, and I was like, "Wait a minute, that's the character on the barge, right?" It's like, yeah, yeah, exactly. That's so cool. Yeah, I
So,
love that.
yeah, another image of
It's so cool. Yeah.
what do you think about this character, maybe the inclusion, or what do you think they're doing now?
Well, they were running around in not so great circles, right? But they got booked where the money was, right? And what's the name of the group? Crimson Dawn, right? Like whether they were able to get out or not, I think that they were finally able to find more legit work away from all of this, you know, or became a resistance spy and kept their singing career would help them get into hard to get places so they could get information back to the resistance. That's what I would say in my head would
Yeah,
be what I would take the character.
it's like very spy novel for like 1950s. You're just like, oh, we're gonna infiltrate the Nazis, and we're gonna just put a singer. I mean, how like that happens in Glorious Bastards.
Yeah, right, right. And I think there was a character like that in Visions too, if I remember correctly. Um,
Yeah, the dancer, like
yes, 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 that. And because those are the people that make up the resistance, not just the ones that are pick up a gun on the front lines, but the people who can get into places that not everybody else can, right? That's how they support the cause in their own way. So that would be cool. That's the kind of story I would love to see for a character like that.
yeah, it's the inverse of Frick from Kenobi, who is just die hard for the Empire.
Yeah.
Like I love this character's dress. I think it's very alluring and very it looks in universe. It looks difficult to put on.
Yeah, yeah,
It looks like it should be way heavier than it is.
yeah.
Um, like I do have a little bit of attachment to this character because I remember when I first saw Solo, I was like thrown for a loop that a song like Chicken in the Pot was being played. I'm like,
Yeah.
is that like a R&B slash hip hop like something? Like I was like, what is going on here? I'm like, this is song. Like, we can't go this black.
But you know what's interesting? And it's funny because us talking about it right now made me think about this. Crimson Dawn and the whole world that Dryden Voss exists in, this criminal element that's here, hiding in plain sight, right? But it's the flip side of what, like, say, like, what it's like for the huts. Well, especially like Jabba's world, it's a little more seedy, right? It's a little bit more not as glamorous, right? Even though he may have a lot of money and be able to um enjoy a lot of things a lot of people cannot. Whereas in here, we get to see Dryden Voss in his world. Everything's a little more elegant. Everybody's a little more dressed up nicely, right? You got this. You're on this barge with a lot of like what you see is a lot of money around you, right? And it shows, right? Where you've got a singer like this. Um, so it gives off a vibe. It's a certain environment that to me is just different from the one we see in Jabba's world. Um, and I love it. The different levels of like what it's like to be a criminal in this galaxy, because I love the Java's world also. I think it's great, I think it doesn't matter which one of those two worlds you go to, you still got to watch your back. So,
I definitely put Rhodia more in the mindset of like she's like the independent contractor, like mentioned in Clerks,
yeah.
like ones that are like actually innocent, but they're.
Yes, yes, yes.
I don't think of her like a Frank Sinatra, where like okay, they're getting into like real crazy gangster shit.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Uh, but yeah, this character also sticks out to me because like obviously the actress like doing the his performance like very beautiful, like model, like, and like I've put her into my Jar Jar fan novel that I'm writing, who goes through his entire life, where I established in keep in mind it's not canon. I don't work for the Del Rey, Lucasfilm. Of she was present during the celebration of Naboo after they defeated the Trade Federation.
Yes.
She was just in one of the like Naboo like clubs, and she was like a teenager, and she was like just getting her start. Like that was the idea because it mentioned that she was a famous artist in Clone Wars. Like, well, how'd she get her start? Maybe she was like going on stage like a 14, 15-year-old girl, like, trying to get attention, then she gets signed to a major label or something.
I like that. I almost feel like we should get more musicians and things like that within this world. That's something I would love to see in Skeleton Crew. Because if like obviously they were trying to go for like a whole 80s Amblin vibe, but I think a couple things that were missing was that if we're going to kind of get this vibe, you bring in the music of an era, right? You bring in that whole vibe to it as well too. So, um, and there's plenty of music within, Star Wars that you could do something like that with.
So you're telling me that you want Neo to do some breakdancing, right?
Yes, exactly.
Maybe Fern will like wear some like hair metal attire.
Yeah.
Music genres they don't mesh.
Yes. I mean, exactly, dude. It's like there's just, there's a lot there that I wish we would have seen within this. But then again, we're gonna find out why things are the way they are in this final episode, and what's been going on with this planet the whole time. So,
see, everyone thinks they're gangster until KB does Smooth Criminal.
Yeah.
So, is there any last statements you have about William Foley or about me or about?
No, other than thank you so much for having me on. This was a lot of fun. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to guest on too many shows as of lately, but it's been nice to be able to like come on here and talk with you because, I see you come to our show and it's always cool having you be part of the audience because, like I said, I love it when we record. It definitely is its own vibe. And so, yeah, I'll plug the show as well. Sunday evenings, come and see, Shoot a Voodoo, or a Voodoo Crew, however you want to call us at this point now, but we're part of the Broaxium network. And we also have a Star Trek show coming up soon. Me and Raven will be working on, so that's in the works as well too. So, but yes, please, it's been fun. Thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
So yeah, check out the man on Broaxium. Eventually, I'll get everyone from Broaxium up here. I got 3 now.
Do you? Nice.
I'm glad to have you. Also glad to have more guests that are not like white guy. Like having a little more diversity on my screen. That it was a long ass time before I got a second woman on.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you were able to just talk. You got to gauge each other as fans. You got to understand each other a little more. I feel like we're definitely closer than we were, hour prior. So I want to thank you again and have a good day.
Thank you.
Stay safe out there. I know it's been rough for Southern California.
Yes, absolutely. We've been lucky up here, but we've just had earthquakes lately, but they're having fires down south. So
he's like, "Don't worry, we don't have to worry about fire. We have to worry about earthquakes. So much better." I'm gonna let you go, and I'm